The two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story.
As Donald Trump's and the White House's and the Republican Party's Distractapalooza marches on in a concerted effort to try to distract everyone's attention from the fact of his almost 2-decade-long best friendship with a convicted, disgraced, disgusting trafficker of children, Jeffrey Epstein, and also his involvement. The credible accusation that Donald Trump possibly committed crimes against children himself. The more that they distract, the more that they deny, the more that they refuse to release the Epstein files, it leaves nothing but questions, nothing but more the cementation, not a word, the cementing of this in our minds of Donald Trump doing these horrible acts against our most innocent. There was only one question asked yesterday during the press conference with Caroline Leavitt, only one. The media is trying to move on. They're trying to cover for Donald Trump the best they can. But there was one journalist who asked a question. I'm going to play this. And then I'm going to play for you a little bit from CNN, who has uncovered a bunch of the details that Donald Trump does not want public. He's trying to distance himself. Statements from the White House are saying, oh, no, he was a creep. Oh, well, we weren't even close. I don't like him. And they've uncovered all kinds of things relative to flight logs and photos and messages and video. And that is remarkable. But first, though, let's get to the single question that they did not want to have asked during yesterday's press briefing and the tepid response from Caroline Leavitt.
And another question on something that happened yesterday, but I wanted to get the White House response. A judge ruled that the grand jury transcripts in Ghislaine Maxwell's case should not be released. What's the White House response to that? And do you plan to appeal? And what do you tell President Trump's supporters who want that information released?
We think that decision is unfortunate. Of course, we moved to unseal that information because the president has said he wants to see credible evidence released. As for the appeal process, I would defer you to the Department of Justice for that. Rachel.
The president wants to see credible evidence released. You have all of the credible evidence. The DOJ is in possession because the DOJ oversaw the prosecution of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. They have all of the evidence. They have it. They have the trial transcripts. The fact that a judge who excoriated the administration of the DOJ, by the way, by saying nothing here being made public is anything different than what the DOJ already possesses. And because of Rule 6E, I served on a federal grand jury for a year and a half. A grand jury, by the way, if you don't know, that oversaw the indictment of Michael Avenatti in one of the major cases. So all of the evidence that is there is protected by Rule 6E. But the judge says, hey, listen, all of the evidence that you have is what is within the grand jury. So just release the evidence. Just release what you have. The fact that they're not should tell you everything you need to know. And it butts up against this reporting from CNN and Andrew Kaczynski with the K-file, they call it, who did voluminous research going through hundreds of photos, hundreds of hours of video to bring you new details that Donald Trump does not want made. He does not want it made public. Watch this.
But K-File's extensive reporting now shows the two shared a close social circle for nearly 2 decades, from private jet flights to high-profile parties, and that's only part of the story. Photos, flight logs, and court records help reveal how long their personal history really was. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski is here with all of that, and it is some extensive research and reporting that you all did. You've chronicled this relationship between Trump and Epstein from the 80s to, mid-2000s is obviously when their contact probably cut off. What's the most striking thing that you find that kind of contradicts this? Donald Trump is no fan of Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah, so what we found, it really actually paints a portrait starting, as you said, in the 1980s up to the mid-2000s. It paints this portrait of a long, enduring friendship. I think there were several associates who have called them best friends. Epstein himself said that he was Donald Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And we looked through these hundreds of hours of video, hundreds of photos. We went through documents from court files, exhibits from lawsuits. So we really chronicled this whole relationship through time. And one thing that I found really interesting was these flight logs from Epstein's private jet, which were part of that investigation into Ghislaine Maxwell. And they really tell you a story of how close these guys are. Look at just a few of them. This is in 1993, for instance. This is the same year that we found as well that Jeffrey Epstein attended Donald Trump's wedding to Marla Maples. Trump flew on that plane 4 times with Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell between Palm Beach, where Mar-a-Lago is, and where Epstein also owns a home. Let's fast forward then to 1994. Trump flew from Palm Beach to Washington, D.C. with his then wife, Marla Maples, his daughter, Tiffany, and a nanny before they returned to New Jersey that day. In August 1995, just he and Eric were on board with Epstein and Maxwell again. They flew from Palm Beach to Teterboro in New Jersey. And then in January 1997, Trump flew with the pair from Palm Beach to Newark, New Jersey. All of these trips, 8 in total, were documented in logs that I mentioned were from that trial.
You also took a look at what Donald Trump himself has said about Jeffrey Epstein. What did you find?
Yeah, that's right. And one of the things that's always been so striking is that quote that he said in 2002 that we found in that New York Magazine article where he said he was a terrific guy, he liked beautiful women just like him. And then that quote where he says he likes many of them on the younger side. That was from an article entitled Jeffrey Epstein, International Money Man of Mystery in New York Magazine. Now, just 2 years later, we were going through Donald Trump's book, and there he had one called How to Get Rich. And then we wrote in his book that somebody named Mysterious Jeffrey had called him, and that you could see it right there. That's the passage from his book. He says Jeffrey calls in, but there's actually a lot of activity between these two in 2004. One of the things that was seized from Jeffrey Epstein's home during that initial investigation to him in the mid-2000s were message pads. And on those message pads, there were 2, if you look here, 2 messages from Donald Trump in November of 2004.
Again, for a guy who despises the creep Jeffrey Epstein, he sure did fly on his planes a lot. He sure was calling him a lot and leaving him messages. He sure was cavorting around New York City and doing magazine interviews talking about what a terrific guy Jeffrey Epstein was. And it's known by so many that he loves women just about as much as I do, and a lot of them are on the younger side. Waka, 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 make my jokes about a predator of children with whom you are friends. The other thing that took place in the press briefing yesterday was this concerted effort to distract, to do what they do, which is just project. They accuse Democrats and opponents of Donald Trump of being guilty of the thing that they are publicly doing. Weaponization, the falsification of intelligence, all of this. And she tried to distract. I want to give you the full picture here. There was a question asked about all of this, about this fake whistleblower and Adam Schiff, another distraction. And this was her answer. And the only reason I want to play it is because it's just so, it is so emblematic, so just a chef's kiss of hypocrisy that they are now accusing Democrats of the thing that we've witnessed them doing for years. They are now accusing Democrats of doing the thing that they themselves are doing in this very moment. And it is just, how can someone do this job, the job of the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, how can she do it if she indeed possesses a soul, if she indeed possesses any shame or dignity about her, if it was the magnetic draw of the power that circles Donald Trump, his aura of power and must be just so compelling that you're willing to just sell yourself to the devil in service to Donald Trump. Watch this absolutely batshit crazy moment from yesterday's press briefing with Caroline Leavitt.
This is obviously a bombshell whistleblower report. Hopefully more people in this room will cover it as such. And I have a quote from the FBI director for all of you. He has said this: "For years, certain officials used their positions to selectively leak classified information to shape political narratives. It was all done with one purpose: to weaponize intelligence and law enforcement for political gain. Those abuses eroded public trust in our institutions. The FBI will now lead the charge with our partners at DOJ, and Congress will have the chance to uncover how political power may have been weaponized and to restore accountability." That's what the administration is focused on, and hopefully we'll see some more media reports on this whistleblower allegation. If this were reversed, if this were allegations against the president or any of these cabinet officials, I'm sure everyone in this room would cover it as such.
The erosion of trust in our institutions, the weaponization of intelligence and lawfare, and all, what? It's the exact same thing you're doing, all to distract from the story of Jeffrey Epstein, all to distract the public's attention from the story that has gained more traction than any other related to Donald Trump. He has, up to this point, been able to extricate, to avoid problems for himself. And this is one story that could take him down because it has caught the attention, because it's the thing they've been banging on about for years and years. MAGA world, QAnon, all of these idiots. And finally, some of them are waking up to, wait a minute, the thing I've been so fired up about, my guy is at the tip of the spear here. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Hey, please subscribe if you're not subscribed. Make sure you're subscribed if you think you're subscribed. Sometimes people get unsubscribed mysteriously. I don't know how that works. I don't know how anything really works. I would appreciate your subscription and your support of this work. I will see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.